So there's a couple factors, actually a lot of factors, I feel like, when it comes to the Singapore Grand Prix. First and foremost, it's monsoon season in Singapore. So there is rain possibly in the forecast. Heavy rainstorms expected on Friday and Saturday morning and afternoon, but cleared up by the evening. Sunday, there's heavy rain expected in the morning, afternoon, but a chance that it goes through the evening. You have obviously been there, Laurence, before. How does the rain impact this race?
It really does, in that it's very unusual for the rain to hit during the race. It did in 2017, and it had a huge impact because Sebastian Vettel, Kimi Raikkonen, and Max Verstappen all crashed out on the run to the first corner, and then also took out Fernando Alonso when they got down there. So it does shake things up. That was a real shame, actually, that year, because as dramatic as that incident was, and we've seen it replayed many times since, we were shaping up for a really great race if that hadn't happened. And what it actually did is open the door to Lewis Hamilton, who was quite unfancied to go and win that race that year, and for him to go and win quite easily. So it's rare that it rains here in the evening. I'm not sure why that is, because there's certainly a lot of rain around in the area. We get quite a lot during the day. But yeah, for it actually to happen in the evening and hang around and the track to be wet during a race is very unusual, but it has happened before. So I always look at these forecasts in advance, but with Singapore, it's one of those ones which you really can't read too much into it, because it can change like minute to minute, certainly hour to hour, as to what's going to happen up there in the sky. So since I got here, I did sleep through a bit of or most of this morning. I was awake till quite late last night, but slept through most of the morning because of the weird time zone I'm on. And I haven't seen a drop of rain since I got here. So maybe it's just saving all up for a big Sunday wet race under the lights, because it is spectacular. It is spectacular when you see these cars race under the lights with the spray of the water from the rain as well. So we'll have to wait and see. But I wouldn't bank on it, and certainly not to get one of those crazy results that we need for a championship.
I'm glad you mentioned it. Under the lights, Nate. Night race versus day race. Where do you stand?
Night race, 100%, especially for a venue like this. Really spectacular. And the interesting thing is you get to see the contrast, because if you watch the first practice session on Friday, or the third practice session, which is Saturday, you get to see the venue in daylight. And then in the time between the next sessions is when the sun goes down and it becomes night. So you see what a difference it makes. And I've always really liked that. And I think there's something quite spectacular about just the way the cars look under the lights, and it just feels different. Again, it's scarcity comes into it. We only have a few night races, so I think that the novelty of them is still there. If every race was a night race, I don't think we'd see them in the same way. But again, sometimes they have helmets that look they look a bit different. The cars sometimes will be painted a bit differently, so they'll look really spectacular. So, and you get all those sparks as well at night races, which just show up way more. So just visually watching it is always pretty spectacular, pretty breathtaking. So yeah, night races. I don't think it would work at, like, if you did it at Silverstone, I think it would just be a freezing cold night race. But so you have to pick the venue. But yeah, night race at Singapore is just spectacular.
Really quickly, did you see the new livery for McLaren? I think it's future mode or something like that. What did you think of the new look?
Well, I like the idea. I always like new liveries, but I feel like it was a bit underwhelming. They've got a few flashes of pink neon on the sides, and I've bored Laurence to death with this when we've been traveling to races. But I'm a big advocate of F1 having a color rush style style race. Where everybody kind of inverts their liveries. It goes a bit neon colored, a bit cyberpunk themed. I like Ferrari and Monza was a great example of how sometimes teams nearly get it right and they don't. If you looked at the Ferrari head on at Monza, it looked incredible with that, the black rear wing and the yellow writing on it. But then as soon as it turned, you saw that awful extra yellow bit that added. And you're like, why have you put that bit on the car? That looks awful. And I feel the same with the McLaren. If you look at it head on, it looks pretty good. Then side on, there's where all the black stuff is, there should be a bit more pink there, I think. But hey, I think when it's under the lights, it might look absolutely spectacular. So I'll reserve complete judgment for that. But yeah, it's a shame more teams don't take advantage of the night races, because you think about some of the colors of the teams on the grid. If you added, you just added a bit more color to those cars, it would look even better. Maybe it would be an assault on the eyes. I don't know. Maybe it would stop being enjoyable and actually start being a little bit uncomfortable to watch. But yeah, it's okay. It's not as good as their last one-off livery McLaren did, which was obviously the great one at Monaco last year, which was absolutely spectacular. So they set a high bar last year. So maybe I'm judging them against their own success last season. So that's probably not the fairest way to do it.
We're happy to be consulted here on Unlapped. It'll be a pretty penny, but happy to help and give you our opinions before you roll out new liveries. Any team members listening here today?
I might have just ended any chance of teams doing that, but
Probably.
so my bad.
Yes,
maybe ask Katie and Laurence, and I'll just drop out respectfully.
No doubt. I will happily oblige.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.